God, the surprises just don't stop in boxing. This announcement is, it won't receive as much press and as much publicity and as much amazement as yesterday's announcement that Khan will fight Canelo. But for me, this announcement is possibly equal in terms of how crazy and bizarre it is. Guillermo Rigondeaux will be fighting on the undercard of Flanagan versus Matthews on a Frank Warren bill. He will be fighting none other than James Jazza Dickens. Guillermo Rigondeaux versus Jazza Dickens. I mean, this is the equivalent. I know Rigondeaux isn't the name, but sort of skill-wise, this is the equivalent of Floyd Mayweather versus Bradley Skeet, or Vladimir Klitschko versus Gary Cornish. I'm not saying Jazza Dickens is a bad fighter by any stretch of the imagination, but the guy has not done, he's not in Guillermo Rigondeaux's league. I mean, Rigondeaux is obviously very high on most people's pound-for-pound lists, and, would largely be considered one of the top technicians and top boxing operators within the game. Let me firstly applaud Frank Warren for doing this. I mean, it sounds like Rigondeaux hasn't been an easy man to deal with historically. He's been demanding a lot of money when, perhaps his commercial value is less than his skill value. But it's a great move. And let me say, if you are lucky enough to have a ticket to see Flanagan versus Derry Matthews, what a bonus this is. I mean, just to sort of witness Guillermo Rigondeaux, one of the top fighters and top pound-for-pound stars in the world, plying his trade. It's a great opportunity for Jazza Dickens, and he was absolutely right to jump at this fight and to take the fight. It's a no-lose situation for him. I don't know what the prices will be with the bookies, but, Jazza Dickens, you'd have to say, will have a very, very small chance of defeating Rigondeaux. But what you've got to say is Rigondaux's a guy who's getting older, who's been hurt in fights before. Whilst he is one of the top guys in the sport, he's not someone who's looked completely unbeatable. And obviously, we expect him to perform at a much higher level than this. But you never know, upsets do happen in boxing, and what a stage this will be for Dickens. If he can perform with credit, it's gonna bring his career and his profile to a whole new height. As for Guillermo Rigondeaux, he's obviously had a tough time in boxing. He's struggled to get the big fights. The fight against Lomachenko, which has been much discussed, hasn't materialised, and to be honest, he was probably too good for his own good when he fought Donaire. The performance he put in against Donaire made him the bogeyman, of his division, and he's been avoided. I understand that, for my money, the winner of Frampton Quigg likely sidesteps him and moves division to avoid him. He just hasn't added up to risk reward, and for me, it's clear that if he's fighting on a Derry Matthews undercard up north in England, fighting Jazza Dickens, he must have changed his financial stance on what he's looking to fight. But real credit to Frank Warren, and also credit to Rigondeaux, because his career was festering. He was becoming less active. He's not getting any younger. This is a good way to build his profile in a new market, the UK. And it's the kind of thing where if he can fight on 2 or 3 Frank Warren cards in quick succession and build up his profile, there will be fights to be made for him. I know it sounds silly, but could the loser of Frampton Quigg maybe face him? Could a returning Kid Galahad face him? What I'm getting is there are fights in the British market that could potentially generate interest for Rigondeaux. And, I give him credit for this. Much better to take less of a purse and try and forward your career and take a big fight than just sit there festering, hoping. He's taking control of the situation. Fair play to him. Fair play to Frank Warren for making it happen as well. A real interesting matchup. Not interesting in the sense that I expect it to be competitive, but sort of groundbreaking in the sense that it's actually happening in the first place. I'd like to just give a quick shout out to Tom for tweeting this to me. I didn't know about this till I received your tweet, Tom, so much appreciated for breaking the news. And what crazy times this is in boxing. Amir Khan fighting at middleweight for the middleweight lineal title in the WBC. Guillermo Rigondeaux fighting none other than Jazza Dickens. Many thanks for watching this video. How do you see this fight going? And if you haven't seen this news before I posted it, this is not a prank. what will be next? You know, what is the next crazy fight that comes out of nowhere? You know, we did not see this one coming. Thanks for watching.